Right. So, good afternoon, everyone, or I guess good morning, depending on where you're tuning in from. My name is Jun Her. I'm one of the program managers here at the Alzheimer's Association New York City chapter. So, I do help a lot with the programming, like today's special program for AANHPI Heritage Month. We're just always doing a lot of programming surrounding the Heritage Month, but also just within our general topics of dementia and Alzheimer's too. But before we begin, I just wanted to note a few housekeeping rules. Because our time is limited today, we're going to save all questions till the end. But of course, throughout the program, you can put your questions in the chat box, which I'm going to send a message through to it to help you locate the chat. We also do ask that you keep mics muted to minimize a lot of the disruptions, and also just want to note that this session will be recorded to be posted on our Alzheimer's Association New York City chapter YouTube channel, where we do have our other previous Ask the Experts that are uploaded there. Okay. So before I hand off to our guest speaker, Vivian, we're going to hear from Lauren, who's going to talk a little bit about the Alzheimer's Association. So Lauren, if you want to do a quick introduction of yourself, and then while I get the slides up, that'd be great.
Yeah, sounds good. Nice to meet everyone. My name is Lauren. I'm a volunteer with Alzheimer's Association, so also working with June. Would love to talk a little bit about the impact of Alzheimer's and dementia in our community today before handing it off to Vivian, just so that we can kind of set the scene a little bit and get everyone understanding like the stats and a little bit more about the information in general. So now that June has the slides up, I think we can kick it off. So as you can see here, this is the 2025 Alzheimer's disease facts and figures, lots of impactful numbers here. And it just shows that Alzheimer's and dementias have affected many of us with quite staggering numbers worldwide. So for example, there's over 7 million Americans living with Alzheimer's today. Nearly 12 million are providing unpaid care for people living with the disease. And it's also one of the costliest conditions to society with like 413 billion, for how much the caregivers are giving, and then costing the nations over 380 billion as well. So if left unchecked, Alzheimer's really kind of impacts all around us, from finances to families and our futures overall. All of these numbers, by the way, that you can find on our website, alz.org/facts. So in case you want to check it out. Thanks, June, for posting in the Slack chat. But yep, going to this page, this is just some important definitions for us to kind of set the scene. Dementia is a general term for loss of memory, thinking, language, problem solving, and other abilities that are severe enough to interfere with daily life. Alzheimer's is the most common cause of dementia, but dementia, think of it like kind of a general term like heart disease, and it covers a wide range of specific medical conditions. So Alzheimer's disease is one of them. And Alzheimer's disease is also the most well-known because it accounts for 60 to 80% of the cases. So speaking a little bit more towards our community, with AANHPI, community and dementia, there are many factors that come into play. We see that Asian Americans are the fastest growing major racial group in the United States, but they're also the least represented group in scientific research. This means that it's harder for individuals or families to recognize symptoms and seek professional care. So the group of older adults who will be at risk for Alzheimer's in the coming years will also shift socially, culturally, and economically compared to previous groups of older US adults. So for example, between 2018 and 2040, the projection for older adults show that there's increases in Asian population of over 100%, compared with increases in 32% in the white population. So this just goes to show that underrepresented and underserved communities are really disproportionately impacted by Alzheimer's and dementia, and yet at the same time, they're less likely to be diagnosed and less likely to be recruited to participate in research, and thereby less likely to have access to care and support services. So to speak a little bit more about the facts and the kind of the data and statistics behind dementia in the Asian American community, we kind of see quite impactful numbers here. Over a quarter of Asian Americans report a lack of family support as a barrier. Almost half of Asian Americans believe medical research is biased against people of color. Only 12% of Asian Americans report that they have no barriers to excellent Alzheimer's and dementia care. more than half of Asian Americans believe significant loss of memory or cognitive ability is a normal part of aging, which if you've joined one of our 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's programs or kind of looked at that on our website, you'll see that that is not a normal part of aging among other warning signs, which is really important to note. And lastly, almost half of the Asian Americans say they're concerned about developing Alzheimer's dementia, which means that this kind of research and that information is even more important to note. And similarly here, we see that Asian Americans living with Alzheimer's face challenges in accessing medical, and 1 in 4 report a lack of family support as a barrier. So 82% know little or are not familiar with mild cognitive impairment, also known as MCI, which can be an early stage of Alzheimer's. So just now I've kind of spoke about like how it impacts those with Alzheimer's or will be diagnosed, but it also has a significant impact on the caregivers as well. Adult children and spouses of people living with dementias often serve as primary caregivers, but that's also incredibly challenging for them to accept roles and responsibilities because the demands of caregiving can limit their ability to take care of themselves. And they're also more susceptible to greater risk for anxiety, depression, and poor quality of life than caregivers of people with other conditions. The lifetime cost of care for individuals with Alzheimer's is also more than twice the amount of those incurred by individuals without Alzheimer's. So if you notice any of the warning signs in yourself or in someone you know, please schedule an appointment with your doctor. The earlier someone is diagnosed, the more treatment of options are available, and some medications are only effective in the early stages of the disease. And when caught early, some lifestyle changes, such as controlling blood pressure, stopping smoking, exercising more, and staying mentally and socially active, can also help preserve cognitive function. So receiving an early diagnosis can help lessen anxieties about why someone is experiencing these symptoms, and also help families to maximize time together with those who are diagnosed and gain access to resources and support programs earlier. So in addition to like the exciting advancements in treatment, there's also more research every day about the importance of brain health to reduce Alzheimer's disease and dementia. There are several risk factors for cognitive decline and dementia. Some, such as age, we cannot control, but evidence is strong that people can reduce their risk of cognitive decline by making the key lifestyle changes. And those lifestyle changes are in the next slide, the 10th, healthy habits. So for example, kind of combining these healthy habits such as controlling blood pressure, which I've spoken about, protect your head, sleeping well, like maintaining social lifestyles, that can all achieve maximum benefits for the brain and body. So it's never too late to start. So fortunately, the Alzheimer's Association leads the way to end Alzheimer's and all other dementia around the globe in our community. And we do so by accelerating global research, driving risk reduction and early detection, as well as maximizing quality care and support. So we have a lot of resources that are available, from the free 24/7 helpline that can connect you with really knowledgeable staff that can help with education, decision-making, or even if you're entering a crisis, they can also help you find resources. We also have local chapters as well as websites online and educational programs for you to access. So it would be really, really beneficial for you to check it out. So now I'll hand it over to today's Ask the Expert speaker, Dr. Vivian Wang. Vivian is a registered dietitian and health services researcher at NYU's Grossman Long Island School of Medicine. And through her talks, she shares practical healthy eating tips. So she also delves into crucial ways that access to food, transportation, housing, and medical care can affect our ability to prevent and manage these chronic diseases. So I'll hand it off to her to kick it off.
Great. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Lauren, for that very excellent overview of Alzheimer's disease in this community, as well as some key risk factors and barriers for this community. And hopefully what I will share today not only benefits those who are interested in preventing or delaying symptoms of Alzheimer's disease and related dementia, but also for the caregivers. So let's dive right in. So just a disclaimer in the beginning that this presentation is only to provide general guidance and not should not be replacing your doctors and registered dietitians recommendations. If you have any questions, you should consult with them, and I will have my information in the end for you to reach out. Feel free to take screenshots, but it would be nice if you can acknowledge the work. All the photos that you will see are my photos, and I hope that this will also give you opportunity to see how I prepare the foods that can be culturally appropriate, and also to make it simple and easy to prepare as busy individuals like yourself. Okay. So just a brief overview of, reminding ourselves the amazing functions of our brain. It's a command center which controls everything you do, think, and feel. Also empowers you with problem solving and reasoning skills, enables you to engage with your community, creating social bonds through communications and connections. And all of these can help you to live longer independently by maintaining your daily functions and quality of life. So Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islanders, AANHPI, is an incredibly diverse population groups, including people from over 40 countries and regions. While I'm not able to cover all the cuisines from each of these countries, I try to incorporate different examples that I hope you can use to adapt to your own cultures and preferences. So here are three things we're going to cover today. What is the connection between food and brain health? What to eat to promote the brain health, and some tips to include brain health foods into our daily lives. So when we recommend what to eat for brain health, we often think about the foods that have at least one or some of these features. First of all, it has a great carbohydrates source. Brain represents 2% of our body weight, but it uses 20% of total energy. As you can see, that our brain does not stop functioning. It works 24/7. So we need quick access to all the food, to the energy that allows us to execute all the functions I mentioned earlier. So carbohydrates are the easiest access for our energy source. The next one is antioxidants, which broadly protect brain cells from damage. We also look into foods with anti-inflammatory properties, which help our brain cells to reduce inflammation that can harm memory. We also look for foods with ingredients such as protein that are the building blocks for the neurotransmitters. All the neuron cells are really attribute to the sources of amino acids, which come from protein mainly. So we look for good quality protein sources. Gut-brain axis is like a recently emerging concept where if you take care of your digestive system, your stomach, your colon, and your entire digestive system, you're able to also take care of your brain health. We can dive into that more a little bit later. So over the past few decades, there has been a blossoming amount of literature on what to eat to keep us healthy. And through years of research, the scientists, they have kind of put together this diet called the MIND diet, which combines the Mediterranean diet and DASH diet. those two types of diets I will not go deeper into, which essentially is to take care of your cardiovascular health and general well-being. By labeling as mind diet, it really emphasizes the anti-inflammatory properties and antioxidants, having healthy access to the healthy building blocks, good quality protein. So you don't need to memorize this, but essentially they want the mind diet recommends to have at least 3 servings of whole grains, 1 leafy and at least one other type non-leafy vegetables such as root vegetables, at least 1 serving of beans or legumes at large, and 1 serving of nuts. Weekly, we want to have at least 2 servings of poultry like duck and chicken, 1 serving of fish per week, and at least 2 servings of berries per week. These are a few things that I also recommend to reduce or eat in moderation. So red meat, they recommend weekly to have less than 4 servings, to limit butter and stick margarine to less than 1 tablespoon. With cheese, try to have less than 1 serving, pastries and sweets to less than 5 servings, fried and fast foods to less than 1 serving. And I always kind of, when I look at the recommendation for pastries and sweets, it's like 5 servings per week. This is manageable. If you can still have 1 serving a day during the weekday. So in the next few slides, I'm going to go into more details for each fruits, each recommendation, and kind of talk about their properties and some food recommendations. So here we see leafy green vegetables. Consider them as like a construction worker or bodyguard for your brain. So for example, vitamin B, it really is it's like a construction worker to build your brain chemicals that allow your brain to transmit the signals from your head all the way to your feet. And how I'm moving right now is really all dependent on having good source of folate B vitamin. Lutein, beta-carotene are different types of antioxidants that help you fight off these like free radicals. Think of like free radicals, they're just like really random, like little like, I don't know, mosquitoes, if you will. Like they try to, bother you by like kind of giving you disruption to your life. So eating these like foods like rich in lutein and beta-carotene can really help to kind of avoid them attacking our brain cells. So spinach, kale, bok choy, gailan, watercress, taro leaves are some of the common vegetables in the community that we can tap into. The next one is other kind of fruits and vegetables that are not necessarily leafy. I highlight the different colors, especially red, blue, purple fruits, vegetables. Think of them as like memory booster and cell cleaners. So these are really great sources of antioxidants that again kind of clean out the junk that can block the brain signals. And it also improve the communications between the neuron cells so that we can make coordinated movements, for example, as I'm speaking, or when I look at something, I can say what I am thinking instead of doing it at different time, maybe 10 minutes apart. So you see like eggplants, carrots, red cabbage, cherries, plums, grapes, blackcurrants, black rice are all really great sources of this category of fruits, red, blue, purple, and fruits and vegetables. So something to note is that some fruits, they have really thick skin where you can't really, where it's not edible. So if the flesh is neither of these colors, then their level of antioxidant is going to be like lower for this group of antioxidants. But it doesn't mean that they're not healthy. They have like a rich amount of vitamin C, fiber. It's just like these specific type and those cyanines, they really come out from these colorful fruits and vegetables. So remember, like eating a rainbow, that's like kind of what we are referring to try to get like a wide range of fruits and vegetables by colors. So nuts and seeds, they are really to help us protect the brain structure, and they often are considered as healthy fats. If you hear like omega-3, nuts and seeds are excellent sources of those. Really provide important materials again for the brain cells, and to help our brain cells to communicate better with each other. Also with antioxidant properties such as vitamin E, they also again like protect brain cells and prevent any damage to avoid any cognitive decline. So while there are some nuts and seeds that are really not like they're really local, meaning that it's not widely available across the world. So things like cashews, pistachios, macadamia nuts, and kukui nuts might be like some that we can find in the AANHPI community. But it's also becoming more widely available. We can talk more about nuts and seeds in particular later. So fatty fish. So this again, similar to nuts and seeds, this has a rich source of omega-3 fatty acids. We need to eat them. These are also called like essential fatty acids because our body cannot produce these fatty acids within our the other nutrients that we consume. So we have to get them from the food. We call them like, again, building blocks and communicators. Building like the brain cells as for the main structural component of the brain. Also, again, enhance the communications among the different brain cells that keep our body going. Poultry. So chicken, ducks, goose, quail, turkey, guinea fowl. These are also great source of protein that serve as the building blocks for the neurons, the neurotransmitters, similar to the function that we can have from the fish. But then this is more focused on the lean meat quality, high quality meat with like lower amount of red meat. So we try to reduce like red meat like beef or pork. I wanted to go back to the fatty fish. I think for the most part in the AANHPI community, we have a really great access to all kinds of seafood. So I wouldn't just limit to like salmon, mackerel, tuna, sardines, all of these fish. I would tap into all kinds of shellfish as well, just to really to think about like diversify, really try to eat like as different types of foods as possible to get like a variety of nutrients. That's really like the takeaway I hope you will have today by the end of the session. Okay. So you see here that gotta have some. I like my skin sometimes for my chicken breast, chicken thighs. So I definitely try to buy those with bones and with skin. So they also enhance the flavor of the chicken itself. But I can always have the option to remove the chicken skin. On top of that, buying the whole thing is also cheaper compared to having meat that are already processed by removing the skin or removing the bone. But you just need to make sure that you cook them thoroughly, because sometimes with bones and skin, like it takes a bit longer time, maybe by like 5 to 10 minutes. And here on the skin, I also add some turmeric just to add some like health benefits. But mostly I wanted for the flavor. So the whole grain are particularly strong in providing a steady energy supply. It is a complex carbohydrates, meaning that it's not simple sugar. When you eat these whole grains compared to, for example, white rice, it does not spike your glucose as quickly as a whole grain. It might have smaller spike, but then it kind of provides like a steady source of energy, which is what we want for our brain health and for our entire health for that matter. You can think of so with whole grain, people complain or like people have thoughts about, like the lack of flavor, which I will provide some tips that will hopefully help you to incorporate more of whole grain into your diet. So fiber, again, going back to this like brain gut axis, fiber really is considered as healthy food for your healthy bacteria in your gut. In your stomach, you really need those healthy bacteria to help you digest the foods that come into your stomach. So like so that you can completely absorb the nutrients that you get from these foods. So that's why I wanted to highlight the fiber, even though it's not a direct impact on the brain structure itself in terms of the benefits, but it has an indirect effect through the gut that affects how they communicate with the brain cells. So here again, I provide some examples that are common across different countries within the community. So legumes has kind of similar property and function to whole grain, but it really excel in providing protein, a lot of folate, and significant amount of magnesium and zinc, which are all really important for cell maintenance and neurotransmitter like functioning. So it's really important to maintain a good source of legumes as well to maintain and maximize our brain health. Aside from sustaining the energy from the carbohydrate portion of legumes, it's a building block. It has protein, B vitamins. So soybeans, lentils, chickpeas, black beans, kidney beans, azuki beans are some of the common beans and legumes that we use in the community. So that concludes what we had for like different food groups that are recommended by the MIND diet. So I forgot to show you all these photos, but when you see here, I believe this is chickpeas. It's been a while since I make it. And then some of them look very similar if you have cooked them before. So these ones, I actually use canned beans. For me, it's simple, it's easy to access, but at the same time, it's pretty safe to use them. When you use those canned beans, what you need to pay attention to is to make sure that you kind of filter out all the water and then like rinse them under clean water for several times before you start cooking. Some people recommend using the water that was soaked within the can in the first place. I try not to do that because sometimes they have sodium content in there and I want to adjust my own level of sodium salt in my food. So here you see that I add a lot of like tomatoes, kale, and I think I added some spices, whatever I had in my kitchen. And I think I used like canned tomatoes as well. It was like a quick, easy food, but also very filling and nutritious, very balanced as well. I don't not only have protein, but also some carbs, complex carbs in here. And then I think I would combine this with some rice as well. I just drizzle them over rice or even like some noodles, pasta go really well as well. So the next portion, I'm going to kind of talk about like some major tips, especially when Lauren early on like mentioned about like caregiver and having a lot of stress, like kind of like the time management. I think that this is something I really hope that I can bring in here by you can eat healthy, but also maximize the nutrients despite being busy and being low on budget. So this is for everyone. So you can see on the right hand side, this is I think it might be happening last year around like July or something. So like this is what I got from the farmer's market nearby. You can see that there's like bell pepper or tomatoes, some squash, eggplants, and okra. So I really highly recommend if you can to buy local and buy seasonal. The reason is that buying seasonal foods can maximize the amount of nutrients that you can get from the food. What I do often is to buy a lot of tomatoes during summer and I freeze them. And because for me, like I can be very freezing the fruits and like the vegetables can be malleable. I do a lot of soup, like what you see earlier, and or sauce. So like freezing those vegetables actually is very beneficial by you kind of lock in the nutrients. You kind of the cold in the freezer kind of lock in the nutrients instead of losing any nutrients. Whereas if you go to any supermarket, you really don't know like how long it has been on the shelf. It takes time for them to go from like one place to another. And it depends on whether or not they go to like the truck goes directly from the farm into your like the supermarket near you. So that's something that's like less that we're less able to control. But then like if you go to farmers market, there might be like a price difference. It might be a little bit more expensive. But if you want to like maximize the nutrients that you get from each food, I think this is like the best way to go. But obviously, again, like it doesn't mean that you cannot go to supermarket to shop. They still have the nutrition value. But here I'm just demonstrating some options by focusing on the local and seasonal food. And a lot of times, local food and seasonal foods are also cheaper. So think about that. Maybe we don't always have to eat avocado all year long. We can have like other sources of healthy fats. Maybe the fish that you have access to, the seafood that already provides you adequate amount of healthy fats. So you see on the right-hand side, this is what I do, how I freeze. I do a lot of meal prep. So what I do is that I cut them into like a decent size that I think I could, if I want to adjust more, I can work with. But here I try to make it simple. Like I dice the onion and I slice the ginger. I also like slice the bell pepper. You see the tomatoes, corn, and beans. These are all like for me like really quick and easy to make, and I promise they are very delicious. But if you do want to save some like for the sake of texture or different recipes that you're following, then I mean you can always use the fridge or buy the food when you need it, or this is also very convenient if you don't have a lot of time to do grocery shopping. This is like a really great way. And if you sometimes just get too busy, you don't have time, this is almost like assembly. think of a Lego, like what you need to prepare like a little house or like a little dish for the family. This makes it a lot easier. The caveat is that the prepping time is it definitely takes some prepping time. So again, preserve important nutrients, save money, and save time on grocery shopping, on cooking, and save space in the fridge. So I want to bring this up because I think white rice is more like it's relatively common across all the population groups in the AANHPI community. One thing that I from my work with like some researchers, we noticed that white rice is always being attacked for like being not healthy. I think it has to do with how you prepare the food and then what you eat with it, right? So the portion size as well. Here I offer like some recommendation on how you can kind of spice it up with rice if you only have rice. If you have rice, how do you maximize the amount of nutrients that you can get in one bite? So here you see I diced I think this is some potatoes, and you see the yellow dots, they are ginger, and I also have some goji berry in here. I also had a mix of whole grain in here. So by trying to like still preserve like the flavor I want from white rice, I still can like incorporate different nutrients in here with like ingredients that are familiar to my culture and my preference. And all of these, besides the white rice, they were all from the freezer that I showed you earlier. I diced them, and then it makes the cooking process also a lot quicker. It kind of breaks down a lot faster. So if you're taking care of, or if you have like issues with chewing, this makes it a lot quicker to make it softer without making it too fluidy. So it still has some texture, especially if you put sweet potato in here. So a combination of root vegetables. You can also put cabbage, which is great. Like it can also maintain the texture structure as well. So I think this is all I have for today. I'm happy to go back to earlier slides to go into more details. And we can open up for the floor for questions. I think I saw a few numbers on the chat. But I want to also bring up this idea that food is much more about these omega-3 antioxidants or anti-inflammatory properties. I think our culture, we tend to be very focused on each of those nutrients or like each of those benefits and forget about like the broader benefits of eating itself. Eating is a social activity, especially with people as we age, and also people with like all kinds of chronic diseases. We still want to maintain that social bonding, and what better than eating with other people to bring that sense of community together. So I really want to emphasize that to really highlight what there is beyond just the nutrients in food. Social relationships is also very critical to the community experiencing dementia and Alzheimer's disease. So I really wanted to highlight that. And if you eat a variety of foods that I continue to emphasize, then you're really likely to have like a rich amount of nutrients. So yeah. Thank you so much. Let me look up the chat box.
Thank you, Vivian. I think there were a few questions in the chat. One of them, well, the first one says, will the presentation slides be shared with the participants after the webinar? I know you mentioned in the beginning that if there's screenshots that you would need for there to be like citation. Um, would you be able to share the slides with us or?
Yeah, I can share the slides.
Okay,
Yeah, I can. So I will send it to June and then
sounds
see.
good.
Yeah, right.
Yes, absolutely. And I will be sending out a follow-up email to everyone um, who attended. So be on the lookout for that, as well as the slides that Lauren shared in the beginning too. Those will be shared as well. I think we got another question from Gina. So Gina says, if we eat seafood that has lots of sauce, does that counter the nutrients?
So it depends on what kind of sauce it is, right? So I think I have one. So this one, it's ah. So if you remember my legume, I think that the color looks different, but I think it's coming from the same batch of sauce from here. And here you can see like the tomato that I use like fresh tomatoes on top of the tomato sauce. So for me, I don't, when you're making sauce, my recommendation is to minimize the amount of added ingredients to kind of preserve the original juice from the fruits and vegetables as much as possible. If you're making some kind of vegetable-based sauce like this one. This one I probably did not add. I probably add like just like a little pinch of salt just to bring up the flavor a little. Um, and I think I'll bring up to another point because I think what you're asking here, Gina, is that sauce tends to have very high in sodium, which kind of counter to what you're trying to eat, like the nutrient that you're trying to get from seafood. So so for one, like if you can make yourself, I try not to try to leverage the original flavors of the fruits and vegetables and try to minimize adding the salt. A lot of times you really don't need the salt to make the flavor. So um using salt is very interesting. If you can experiment, sometimes if you can try like eating a week or two by reducing the salt that you use by half, or even by more, like depending on your preference, because we want to make incremental change. We don't want to have drastic change to our diet, because it wouldn't last long if you don't like the flavor and you just go back right away to having a lot of salt. So try if you can try like reducing the salt like by half, for example, and then try for a week, and you'll notice that your kind of preference flavors changed. Just a quick example, I was in Buffalo for a long, like for a couple years, and then I cooked all the time when I was there. But then when I came back to New York, where I was eating out more, I couldn't tolerate the foods outside because it was just so salty. And then I think to this day, I still feel that way. And I don't know if it has to do with the restaurants or like just like my profile just forever changed. So I would try that, experiment that for anything and relate it to the sauce here. I think a lot of Asian sauce are garlic based, which I assume is good for you, right? Yes. Yeah, garlic is great. I often forget to add garlic. I'm not a really good Asian. But garlic is great. Just don't fry it. I think sometimes we go between like sauteing and then like to the point that it's too dry, then like you kind of pull out you kind of break the nutrients that we want from the benefit of garlic. Okay, that looks delicious. Oh, thank you, Michelle. Freeze whole tomatoes and remove skin underwater hot water. Yes, thank you, Heather. That's a great suggestion. I this is my lazy part, but I also think that if you just keep the tomato skin, it also increases the amount of fiber that you can have in the soup. It's just not that pretty, or it might be less delicious. And especially if you're looking for a specific texture, and then if you have kids or older adults at home that need like soft texture, then definitely remove the skin. But if you are generally healthy and you don't have any like issues with chewing or digesting, try keeping the skin on and then see what you think. Yes. So if I do dieting, my mood always goes negative. What can help me better when diet? Jun, sorry, I just kind of I'm just going through the questions.
Oh, please do, please do.
Okay. Let's see. If I do dieting, Vanessa, I think this will be like a question that requires like a deeper conversation in terms of like why do you diet in the first place, and then what have you been doing to change? Because sometimes when we try to diet for different reasons, we could over or underdo something by eating too much or eating too little of something, and that could affect our mood for many reasons. For one, it's like you might be readjusting to like a new dietary pattern, and if I completely cut off my desserts from my life, I would have really negative mood like for a while. And but then if it has to do with having different kinds of fruits and vegetables, or going completely vegetarian, for example, meat do have like really good nutrients in there. We didn't really cover a lot, which is not the focus today, but sometimes when people go from omnivore diet to vegetarian diet, there's also like a change in the mood, and it takes some time to adjust to it because, for example, grains and legumes are like the main source of protein, but then they're not everyday popular diet foods. So it takes some time to adjust to it. So yeah, Vanessa, I would recommend you to work with a dietitian to kind of dive into some more reasons for it. Pickled vegetables. Yes, Heather, thank you for that question. So pickled vegetables, they have great antioxidant properties. I think this is definitely something like we can incorporate, but at the same time to be aware of the sodium and sugar content, to not cancel like the other benefits that you can have in other fruits and vegetables. So the way I incorporate pickled vegetables, often I use kimchi. I make it with soup. So with soup, I don't need to add any more condiments. I don't add like soy sauce. I don't add salt, maybe some pepper. But I don't add any more like I will call them like processed condiments, processed flavor. Like soy sauce is like kind of like a processed flavor. I love soy sauce, but then like only in moderation, right? So like when you are having like pickled vegetables, it should not be like the main source of vegetable in your meals. Kind of consider it more like add-on and some decorations to your food. I would try that. Any thoughts on lion mane mushroom or mushroom in general for brain health? Yes, so mushroom is a great source of vitamin D, especially when they're dried in the sun. Sometimes like when it's fresh, it doesn't provide as much nutrients that we mainly want from mushroom in a way. But they're delicious and they are a great source of fiber and a lot of nutrients for antioxidant properties as well. So I would definitely, yeah, I would if you are big fan of lion mane's mushroom, I would just go for it. I always add mushroom to my at least one meal for me daily because I love mushroom. Can I show any slides before Oh, okay. What about MSG? MSG is tricky. So the science says like it's not harmful and it's really just to enhance the flavor. So I would just if you are in the habit of using it, then just go. I'll not stop. But I just don't. I personally try to minimize the amount of ultra processed food in my diet, and then if it's man-made MSG, then I don't really use it. But then you can also have MSG from like mushroom, for example. So it like that umami flavor. And I think you can get umami flavor from natural foods. So I go back to, try to eat local seasonal fruits and vegetables, and then to kind of anchor yourself in the flavor and take time to savor and appreciate that flavor. But MSG, it's fine. It's you can use it, and always in moderation. Even like tomatoes, you can't have too many tomatoes. If you have too many of any foods, just like a general rule, if you have too many of a specific food, then you're less likely to eat other foods because you don't have space for other foods. So then you lose the opportunity to consume other nutrients. So that's why, again, I'll go back to having a diverse diet, like with like diversity of colors, diversity of like protein choice, diversity of carbohydrate choice. And if you can mix up throughout the week, that's also optimal. So it's always like this diversity. It's kind of, hopefully that can be like a guidance role for you. Low sodium. Yeah. Yes. So when I first, just like a funny story, when I first started in my nutrition program in college, I almost put no salt in my food, and then it took a toll on me because you still need sodium in your diet, and then it kind of you it helps you to keep your cells in a functional level, and then if you don't maintain a certain amount of sodium, then you can feel weakness. But that's really the case for everyday American in America. It's just we have a lot of sodium source in all kinds of foods. A2 unhealthy gluten. So let me see. Test. Kimchi, yes. I feel like Jun can say more about it. Jun, how do you usually eat your kimchi?
And like honestly everything. I make it into like a soup like kimchi jjigae, or like I also like make like kimchi fried rice. I use
Oh,
like sesame oil instead of like regular like butter or oil. Honestly, even just kimchi and rice, I feel like with like a side of like seaweed. Um, I think that's just very flavorful in itself too. Oh, many ways.
that sounds delicious. So like something else will also add. One of my lazy quick meal is um cook rice. So oftentimes I always cook a lot of rice. And then I batch and freeze them. And then if they have, so I would take out some rice and I'll sprinkle kimchi and I'll cover with some cheese, some shredded cheese. I don't know why, but it just tastes very delicious. I think it's the fat and like the fermented flavor. Um, Sorry, I sidetracked. But there are many ways to eat healthy, and then I think um, with there's no strict rule. You also don't have to eat only 3 meals a day. One of my colleagues was like, he passes by my office and is always asking, "Why are you always eating and not gaining weight?" But I eat small portion, and then just like how my body has evolved to getting used to eating small portions throughout the day. So, mostly because you want to lose weight. Yeah. So yeah, so it can be, this is a tricky issue, Vanessa. I think if you want to talk offline, I'm happy to talk more. Sometimes like if you, depending on like what you mean by unhealthy food, sometimes there's research that shows eating ultra processed food of the same amount of calories compared to eating, if you eat, so imagine like two groups of people, and in one group of people, they both have access to the same amount of calories. But one group eats no processed foods, and the other group only eats processed foods. And when they get out of this experiment, the group with the ultra processed food gained more weight compared to those without eating any processed food. So there has something to do with how the ultra processed food, we don't know that much yet. I think there's like, this is definitely a growing area of research that we don't know much, like exactly what the reasons are for gaining more weight, even if they have the same caloric amount for two groups. So freezing veggies will not kill the vitamins actually. So it helps to retain it. So vitamins, they're water soluble most of the time. For like those in the vegetables, it's A, D, E, K, B, C. Most of the time it's a vitamin B and vitamin C. So if you are like me, sometimes when I forget I have some vegetables at home and then they become yellow, or they kind of shrink, it's like they're losing the water, right? And the vitamins kind of just are gone with it. So what I do with the leafy vegetables, if I want to freeze them, is that I what's it called? I cook them briefly, for like 30 seconds to 1 minute, and then I'll kind of roll them into bowls, and then like squeeze out the water. But then like the vitamins retain. Like some of the vitamins are going to go away, but then some vitamins like retain in the vegetables, and I just freeze them right away. So that's like I can send more. I have like some materials I developed for like freezing fruits and vegetables to go through if that would be interest for everyone. Oh, sorry. Yes, Teresa. Thank you, June. Yes, so gluten intolerance. This is a very, very important topic because it feels like many more people are experiencing this. I think what my recommendation, aside from June's really great recommendation, the rice paper wrappers, coconut wraps, I would also recommend to like not worry about focusing on whole grain or whole wheat bread, and then to kind of find your fiber intake from the other sources. So maybe upping your fruits and vegetables in that sense by increasing the fiber intake. And then knowing how much that you need to have is by kind of one simple quick, I know we're at time, is to kind of keep track of what you eat and then see how it changes from one day to another. So I think the time is up. Last thing, okay, I'll share the freezing vegetables. Is drinking. We don't know. with the water, we don't know if drinking 8 glasses of water is still a thing. My rule of thumb is to really pay attention to how you feel with your body. If you don't feel thirsty and then you didn't finish like the eighth cup of the day, then don't force it. Maybe that's what your body needs. You probably have a lot of you will have a lot of like fluid coming through your body from your daily meals as well. And depending on the humidity in your environment, it also changes like how likely you're going to be thirsty, your activity level. So it really varies. For people who are sedentary, like then I wouldn't recommend drinking all the water that they recommend as 8 cups. So yeah, so I will not push yourself to drink 8 glasses of water if you can get to it, but then definitely stay hydrated. Okay, I think I will conclude here, and feel free to reach out if you have any question. I'm happy to answer them. And June will follow up with some slides and material.
Absolutely. Yes. So after today's program, I will be sending out follow resources, and I also did put in the chat again our 24/7 helpline, our website link, and our community resource finder as well. So you can find all of that. And again, those will also be sent out an email afterwards. So thank you. And just want to share one comment that I saw from the chat, which is really great. Jisa says she's very happy to see programs for Asian Americans like today. So thank you to Vivian, of course, for giving this program to us. And I do also agree with Jisa. Thank you so much, Vivian, for this wonderful program.
Well, thank you, Jun, for planning the program, because without him, like this wouldn't have happened. So, and thank you all for being here and being great sports. Yeah, take care.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Happy AANHPI month, everyone.